Welcome to Poland Daily History with me, Nicholas Richardson. And all good things must come to an end. And alas, after 5 years, Poland Daily History is also coming to an end. And so we thought in this series of programmes, we'd reflect on what we've learned about Polish history over the past 5 years. And I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague Adam Starzyński, our expert in all things historical, Polish and indeed reflective. Adam, welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Well, we've tried, I think, in this series of programmes, going back now 5 years, to cover a wide range of Polish history. What for you do you think have been the main themes we can draw from this examination?
Well, it is, if we go back to what is technically history, for something to be officially history, it needs to be written down. So, of course, we have to ignore all the archaeological traces and clues that we can learn from, and we have to go back to our written history, which is more or less 1,000 years. And it does seem that there are a couple of common themes, red lines, I guess, or threads which run through the history. And it has to be said, I think that this is something that a lot of foreigners are also impressed by, and when they hear about Poland, this is something that they instinctively think about. How is it possible that the state being located where it is today? It is Germany on our western border. Back in the days, it was the Holy Roman Empire. And of course, to the east, initially it was Kievan Rus that was the big player. Later on, the Russian Empire, and today the Russian Federation. At parts in our history, we had also a great empire to the north, the Swedish Empire, which really shone brightly in the 17th and 18th centuries.
Gustavus Adolphus was always nipping over to do
the Lion of the North.
Cause havoc in Pomerania.
Exactly. And then, of course, by the 15th century, more or less, we had the Ottoman Empire appearing to our south as well. Previously, it has to be said that it was Hungary that played the role of being the great power on our southern border. But more or less, the conclusion is that how can the Poles have survived all of this? And of course, there was 123 years that we weren't on the political map of Europe. But there were even points in time in which we would have been described in the same way that I just described the Swedish Empire, the Ottoman, or so on. And in the 16th and 17th century, we were the ones who played a decisive role, saving Vienna from the Ottoman onslaught in 1683, or entering the Kremlin in 1610, and staying for 2 years, not just as Napoleon, going in for a few weeks and then setting fire to the entire thing before retreating with winter coming. And of course, Mr. Adolf Hitler never even reached Moscow. So it has to be said that Polish history, looking back, not just at that golden era of the 16th and 17th centuries, but even in 1920, just a year and a half or so after we regained our independence, we were able to hold back the full might of the Soviet Union, or at least Soviet Russia, which was about to be officially turned into the Soviet Union, but nevertheless they did have the resources of that vast empire. So there is something, I don't know what the foreigners exactly call this, whether it is tenacity or stubbornness or something.
Well, I certainly think stubbornness and tenacity are good words to use in this context. And there have been some remarkable achievements. Looking at purely from a comparative view of English law, English history and law for that matter, but English history, which has always interested me particularly, is, and if you look particularly in the 18th century, which for the United Kingdom, as it then became, was the sort of the formative, real advance on the world stage. We were, as a nation, very well served by our aristocracy. I mean, they were very enlightened people, by and large, and that comes through in our democratic processes. And in contrast, Poland at that time was actually rather badly served by its aristocracy at times when monarchs were trying to amend the constitution, trying to take the country forward. Too many people had a vested interest in saying no. The liberum veto is a classic example of how you could bring everything to one person was given the power to bring everything to a halt, which I think did hold Poland back in advancing as quickly as it might into the modern era.
Yes, they realized it themselves, naturally, with the May 3rd Constitution of 1791. It's clear when you study that Constitution that they had accurately discovered or reflected on the main problems with the Polish political system and political culture as well of the previous 2 centuries or so. If we look at the political elite, the nobility, a little bit earlier, if we go back to the 14th century, for example, at the time of the personal union with Lithuania, or during the 16th century, but also the end of the 16th century and the union, now not personal union, but political union with Lithuania, with the Union of Lublin.
Adam, sorry, the clock in the corner of the studio is saying that our time for this session is up, but fear not, we'll carry it on next time if you're available. There we are. I've had to interrupt Adam almost in mid-sentence, but fear not. If you join us next time on Poland Daily History, as we hope you will, we'll pick up the story. In the meantime, thank you for watching.